Is that my pasta here calling? No, it's just my Zamfir ringtone. I turn that off. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the beginning of Death of a Salesman. Glad you could join us today. I wanted to talk about this play from 1949. It was a huge hit. It won not only the Tony Award for Best Play that year, but it also won the Pulitzer Prize. Nice job, Arthur Miller. It starts with the stage directions that are actually pretty well known, the flute music, and also it introduces Willy Loman, perhaps you noticed this, as the salesman. So it's Willy Loman, comma, the salesman, capital S. And that indicates, of course, that he is considered an archetype. Also, sometimes I think if someone says, give me one good reason to move to Canada, you could say, have you read Death of a Salesman? Because Willy Loman isn't just a single character, he's a type. He's a type of American. And we're going to follow his tragedy. Well, Willy Loman comes home. He's carrying those two big suitcases, and we have seen symbolic suitcases before. They're extremely heavy. He drops them down and goes and talks to his wife, Linda.
Let's go to the thought bubble. Let's go to the thought bubble.
Willie joins Linda in the bedroom, and they have a conversation which you get the impression has happened a few times before. He says, oh, maybe it was the coffee. And we all know that they're not poisoning coffee in Yonkers. Linda says, maybe it was the steering. Angelo doesn't know the Studebaker. She says, your glasses. You didn't go for your new glasses. Then she says, well, you need to rest. And he says, oh, I just got back from Florida. She says, well, you didn't rest your mind. It's all in the mind. And that, I think, is the thing that rings the most true from this exchange, which seems to suggest a pattern of Linda trying to fix the problem or look for some reason for the problem other than what the reason actually is, that Willie's mind is wandering. Thank you, Thought Bubble. And you might have noticed that she was taking off his shoes. She was offering him an aspirin. She used the word soothe. She's being very maternal here, and maybe you picked up on that. So Willie is talking about how he can't stop traveling as a traveling salesman because he is vital in New England. I'm the New England man. I'm vital in New England. In that sentence, I'm vital in New England, brings up one of the things I wanted to point out to you, which is the number of seemingly simple, short, usually declarative sentences that Arthur Miller has that seem simple on the surface, but when you think about them, have levels of meaning and great depth to them. I'm vital in New England. We've only just met Willy Loman. We can already feel the irony in that, but also his personal pain and the denial that he's experiencing. My favorite of those short declarative sentences is, I want Swiss cheese. Linda tells him she got some new cheese. It's a new type of American cheese. It's whipped. And he goes berserk. He says, I don't want to change. I want Swiss cheese. Why am I always being contradicted? I want Swiss cheese. He's yelling at her. So the woman who is trying to please him, be motherly to him, soothe him, he's yelling at her. He's blowing it way out of proportion. He's asserting his desire, his control, and he won't have any of this cheese. She says, he goes downstairs, but before he does, he says, how can they whip cheese? So then we go back and look at the I want Swiss cheese, and it's not just about the cheese, it's about change. Whether it's because he's getting older or something's going on with him, In his mind, he's unable to accept change the way Linda is. The same thing comes clear when he's talking about the apartments and how there used to be nature and so forth. Unclear how much of that is true. But like I say, keep an eye out for those little simple sentences. Biff is a lazy bum. And then, 10 lines later, one thing about Biff, he's not lazy. So keep an eye out for those really simple sentences that mean so, so much. I think that's one of the great triumphs of this play. One more thing I wanted to talk about is the names. You've noticed that this is the Loman family, low man on the totem pole, and the nicknames, Biff and Happy. Not exactly the names of grown men, but perhaps they fit considering that these grown men are in their childhood bedroom sleeping on the twin beds. And then there's the name Willie. So it's not William, it's not Bill, it's not Billy, it's not even Willie with an IE. It's Willie looks like silly. And to me that suggests perhaps he's not an actualized man. Perhaps at some point he stopped progressing. But one of the most famous names in all of American literature, I would say. Okay, one more thing I wanted to explain to you, which is just you maybe never knew this thing, the windshield. So Willie's talking about how he let the windshield down, and Linda's like, oh, that must have been nice or whatever, and he's like, what are you talking about? The Studebaker doesn't have, you can't lower the windshield on the Studebaker. Did you know that windshields, you used to be able to lower them, like on a Model T or whatever? You lower your windshield and feel the breeze in your face and presumably pick bugs out of your teeth. But that's what they're talking about there. Okay, so hope you, do I want to say enjoyed? Hope you enjoyed Death of a Salesman. One more thing to mention, Dustin Hoffman, people thought was a weird bit of casting because the original Willie Loman on Broadway was this guy named Lee J. Cobb, and he was huge, an enormous man. And people thought that that was what Willie Loman should look like. I think Dustin Hoffman does a nice job. I feel very uneasy in watching him, and I think that's the intent. And I hope you'll enjoy it. So see you next time for a little more Death of a Salesman. And I want you to know you're vital in New England. Hold on, I'm filming my crash course video. My crash course video!